Alright, Brush Monkeys, we are back, and this week we are painting our Writhing Crusher. As you know, last week I didn't know what this guy was. We researched him. I said you all had a lot of different resources for searching this guy out and what he's supposed to look like and all this kind of thing. I've got my paints all selected out for him. I think he's going to look really cool when we get him done. As you know, this guy was sold as part of a two-part set of the Writhing Crusher and the Searcher of Souls, which is this guy, and we painted him up to look like a beholder that I had another miniature of. And he's called a Searcher of Souls because back in the day, Grenadier used to have the contract for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And that's when they put out a miniature of the Beholder. Then later, TSR withdrew that contract, or the contract ran out, or for whatever reason, Grenadier no longer had the contract to advance Dungeons and Dragons figures, and so this guy became the Searcher of Souls instead of a Beholder. And you'll see a lot of them like that are Eye Tyrants, or Watchers, or Eye Beasts, or there's a lot of different names for them, but they're all very clearly beholders. You just can't call them beholders because that's a trademark. The Writhing Crusher is kind of the same way, although I've never seen another miniature of this guy. He is a specific character in Advanced D&D, but they didn't have the rights to use that character, so they made this figure based on his description and called him a Writhing Crusher. So we're going to go ahead and paint this guy today. I've got all the paints set aside. We're going to do Death Guard green for most of him. He's going to have Xandri dust for his belly scales here. That is also going to be, all of that is going to be painted with Agrax Earthshade. His horns here, his back spine, and his little carapace here are all going to be on all those little claws around his feet here. Claws around the bottom of them. Are all going to be Nightmare Black. His eyes are going to be Averland Sunset with Flashgit's yellow highlights. And his base is going to be Agaros Dunes with Reaper Shield Brown base band. And then I'm going to do a little, like around his base and claws here, all around the bottom of them, and a little trail out to the back. I'm going to put some Nurgle's Rot, because he supposedly leaves this really nasty, slimy trail behind him. So that's how he's going to look. I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and get started on him. Alright, I'll see you soon. Bye. Alright, Brush Monkeys, I'm back, and I've made some progress on our guy here. I kind of cheated a little bit. I've got the bottle out for the Death World green, but what I ended up doing was base coating him with the Death Guard green spray, because I figured the majority of them was going to be Death Guard green. I'll just do it that way. That'd be easier. Also got to looking at this guy and realized that what I originally took for belly scales actually extends kind of all over the guy. He doesn't really have belly scales, he just has this wrinkly-ass skin. And so I originally put away the Xandri dust, and then after shade washing this guy with the Agrax Earthshade, I got to looking at it and I thought, well, even though it's not actually belly scales, maybe I'll just go ahead and kind of rough in the Xandri dust on the belly parts anyway, just like right up here in front, and do his teeth, and then shade wash it again. So I'm going to wait for the Xandri dust to dry, and then I'm going to try that. And if it doesn't work, I can always repaint it with the Death Guard green and go back in and fix it. So it'll be alright. So I'm going to take a few moments and let that Agrax Earthshade, and also the basing. I did Agaros Dunes for the basing, which is normally kind of a like really, really yellowish color. Yellowish brown. It's usually much more yellow than brown, but over the Death Guard green spray, it comes out this really nasty kind of more brown than yellow, but really kind of gross color, which is fantastic for this guy because he's kind of an ugly, kind of disgusting creature anyway. He's going to have like the Nurgle's rot coming from his eyes and his horns and his spines on his back here and all around his base, and a trail coming out. So he's just going to be oozing gunk anyway. If this was a Warhammer character, he'd be like some kind of Nurgle spawn. So he's pretty gross character anyway. So I'm glad he's coming out so absolutely disgusting looking. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and let these two paints dry, and then I'm going to try the belly thing and wash it with the Agrax and see how that looks. And then we'll go on from there. So I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, brush monkeys, we're back, and I've got the belly part of our Writhing Crusher here painted with Xandri dust and shade washed with the Agrax Earthshade. And it does differentiate a little bit from the rest of it. Speaking of differentiation, I decided I didn't like there's a couple of places where the tentacles kind of cross over the body here, and they just kind of get lost in the body. They just kind of disappear back into it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer the tentacles with Deathworld Forest. And here's Deathguard Green. Here's the main color of the body. That's what he was sprayed. And here's Deathworld Forest. And I don't know if you can see that or not. Deathworld Forest is a very slightly darker green. So I'm going to try this on just the tentacles and see how that works. Once all this nonsense here dries, then I'll go through and paint the tentacles with the Deathworld Forest, and I'll paint the carapace here with Nightmare Black, which is like a really, really dark blue, and this little spinal thing sticking out there is going to be dark blue, or the Nightmare Black. All these little claws around the base are going to be Nightmare Black. And these two little horns on his head here will be Nightmare Black. So I think with all of that being Nightmare Black, then and the tentacles being Deathworld Forest, I think that's going to help everything kind of stand out from everything else, and it doesn't all just blend into one big inky greenish brown mess. I want to look decent from a distance as well as up close, so that's part of why I'm making these decisions on the fly. And sometimes you have to do that when you're painting miniatures. You got to make decisions and change things up as you go along, because sometimes things work, sometimes things don't work, sometimes you come across a detail that you didn't plan for when you were drawing up your plans, and things change. You have to be flexible. So I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and hit those tentacles with the Deathworld Forest and see how that looks. And we'll probably also go ahead and do the Nightmare Black at that time too. So we'll see you soon. Bye. Alright, I have made a lot of progress on our little ugly guy here, and I'm pretty happy with how he's turning out. I think that Nightmare Black looks really good on his carapace and claws. And the eyes just came out looking fantastic. I mean, look at that. He looks so evil. They almost look like they glow in the dark. And the layering the Deathworld Forest, while it doesn't make a huge difference between that and Deathguard Green, without the shade wash on it, it looks a lot different. It looks a lot smoother than the skin, which I'm pretty happy with. So I'm going to dry brush his base with a little bit of this Sylvaneth bark, and just to kind of even out the browns on that. And then his base band is really the only other thing I've got to paint. So I'm going to transfer him over. I'm going to dry brush his base and then transfer him over to a cork, paint the base band, and then matte seal him, do the Nurgle's rot. And the next time you see this guy, he's going to be completely done. He's going to be really gross with that Nurgle's rot, because it's going to be leaking out his eye and his mouth on both sides. It's going to be pretty much all around the bottom of them here as it secretes out, and then there's like a trail behind him. It's going to come out of this little spine on his back. It's going to be creeping down. He's going to look really disgusting. It's going to look it's going to be fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here and go finish up his basing, and then like I said, next time you see this guy, he's going to be completely done. See you soon. Bye. And there he is. Brush Monkeys, our finished Writhing Crusher. He looks pretty good. Basing looks pretty gross. It was a gross little dude. So he is ready to go on the tabletop. I'm going to call it done. Next week we will pick up another one. Another figure. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. Hey Brush Monkeys, Tom from Flying Monkey Studios here. If you like what you see, click like down below. If you want to be notified when new videos come out, click subscribe. And in the meantime, if you want to see how to add one of the miniatures that we've painted on this channel to your own collection, check out our Instagram, Tumblr, and Patreon sites. If you want to support us in doing what we do, check out my Patreon site, check out my merch store at storefrontier.com/flymonkeystudios. You can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, all kinds of stuff there. Go check that out. And in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.